Have you been eating the same, working out, maybe even cutting calories, yet somehow the weight, especially around your stomach, just keeps showing up? Everyone says you're just getting older. It's your metabolism. You need more discipline. But what if they're looking at the wrong thing? I'm Dr. Nirvana, and today I want you to follow the investigation with me because what many people call weight gain may actually be your body's response to chronic stress. But here's the twist. It may not be cortisol alone. By the end of this video, I'll show you why cortisol is only one possible missing piece and how your thyroid, insulin, gut, and even your sleep could all be influencing the number on the scale. One of the biggest mistakes I see is people becoming obsessed with the number on the scale. But the scale can't tell you where you're storing fat. It can't tell you whether you're losing muscle. It can't tell you whether you're retaining water. It can't tell you whether inflammation is increasing. And it can't tell you whether stress hormones are changing how your body stores energy. The real question isn't, am I gaining weight? The better question is, why is my body choosing to store energy this way? That's a much more interesting investigation because your body rarely does something without a reason. Let's talk about cortisol. Cortisol is often called the stress hormone, but cortisol isn't bad. Without cortisol, you wouldn't wake up. You couldn't regulate blood sugar. You couldn't respond to emergencies. The problem isn't cortisol itself. The problem is when your body begins producing cortisol in ways that don't match what it's designed to do. Think about how humans evolved. Stress used to mean escaping danger. Afterward, the body relaxed. Today, stress looks very different. Emails, financial worries, poor sleep, inflammation, skipping meals, over-exercising, constant notifications. Your body may interpret many of these as ongoing stressors. Over time, this can influence your appetite, cravings, sleep quality, and where fat is stored, particularly around the abdomen in some people. But here's something a lot of people don't realize. High cortisol isn't always the reason. Sometimes cortisol is elevated because something else is driving it. Let's investigate those missing pieces. One of the biggest reasons cortisol rises is unstable blood sugar. Imagine skipping breakfast, which I think a lot of people do nowadays. Drinking coffee, running all morning, then suddenly you're shaky, irritable, and craving sugar. Your body doesn't like low blood sugar. So one of the hormones it releases, cortisol. Its job is to help bring blood sugar back up. Now, imagine that happening every day. Your body keeps calling on cortisol to rescue you. Here's a tip. Try eating 25 to 30 grams of protein within the first hour of waking up. For a lot of people, this supports satiety and it can help reduce mid-morning energy crashes. But blood sugar is only one part of the story. Here's something fascinating. Just 1 or 2 nights of poor sleep can influence your hunger hormones. A lot of people notice they crave more sugar, especially more refined carbohydrates and larger portions after they don't sleep a lot. It's not because they suddenly lost willpower. Their physiology changed. Sleep is when your body repairs tissues, regulates hormones, and resets a lot of metabolic processes. If sleep is consistently poor, your body will struggle to regulate your appetite, energy, and stress responses efficiently. Here's a simple tip. Get outside within 30 minutes of waking up. Morning sunlight helps anchor your circadian rhythm, which supports healthier sleep that night. Now, let's investigate another missing piece, your thyroid. Here's something I see over and over. A woman tells me, I've been told my cortisol is high. After we investigate a little further, we discover thyroid autoimmunity or hypothyroidism. When thyroid function slows, metabolism changes, energy declines, movement often decreases without people even realizing it, and muscle mass may become even harder to maintain. People often assume cortisol is the problem when thyroid dysfunction was quietly present all along. That's why I never investigate one hormone by itself. I always ask, What else could be contributing? Now, let's look at the missing piece almost nobody talks about, your gut. The gut and the brain communicate constantly through the gut-brain axis. Digestive problems may also influence your sleep, inflammation, nutrient absorption, and blood sugar regulation. If your gut isn't functioning well, your body may not absorb the nutrients efficiently. Inflammation can go up, sleep will worsen, and your cravings become stronger. All of those factors can influence how your body manages energy and weight. That's why I rarely look at weight as simply a calorie problem. Sometimes the gut is quietly influencing everything upstream. Here's another simple tip. If you're constantly feeling bloated, constipated, dealing with diarrhea, reflux, or digestive discomfort, don't ignore those symptoms. Your gut may be trying to tell you something really important. And here's another piece that matters, especially for women in perimenopause and menopause. When estrogen begins to fluctuate or decline, body fat distribution can change. You may notice more weight settling around your abdomen, even if your overall habits haven't changed dramatically. At the same time, sleep may become more disrupted, insulin sensitivity may change, and stress may feel harder to recover from. So, when someone says it's just cortisol, that explanation may be way too simple. It may be cortisol, estrogen, insulin, thyroid function, sleep, gut health, or several of these systems interacting at once. This is why the missing pieces approach matters. Sometimes cortisol really is elevated, but a lot of times, cortisol is simply the messenger. It may be responding to poor sleep, blood sugar swings, inflammation, pain, chronic illness, thyroid dysfunction, gut issues, hormonal fluctuations, or just chronic emotional stress. Treating cortisol without asking why it's elevated is like turning off your smoke alarm without looking for the fire. And this is where many people get stuck. They start taking supplements marketed for adrenal support. They cut more calories. They exercise harder. They add more caffeine because they're exhausted. But some of those choices may create even more stress for the body. If you're already undereating, overtraining, sleeping poorly, and running on caffeine, adding more pressure may not help your metabolism feel safer. Here's a practical step you can try. Instead of immediately cutting more food, focus on stabilizing your body. Eat enough protein. Include rich carbohydrates. Avoid going long periods without eating if that makes you shaky or exhausted. Prioritize strength training over excessive cardio. And protect your sleep as seriously as you protect your diet. You can also start tracking patterns rather than only tracking pounds. Notice when you crave sugar. Notice whether you wake up between 2 to 4 in the morning. Notice whether you feel wired at night but exhausted in the morning. Notice whether your symptoms worsen before your period or during perimenopause. Notice whether bloating and constipation appear alongside weight changes. Those patterns often tell us a lot more than the scale does. If there's one thing I hope you remember, it's this. Weight gain isn't always about eating too much, and it isn't always about cortisol. Sometimes cortisol is simply pointing us toward another missing piece. My goal isn't to blame one hormone. It's to investigate the systems that work together. Your adrenal glands, thyroid, gut, metabolism, nervous system, blood sugar, and hormones to understand why your body is behaving the way it is. Gut issues are often the missing piece. If you want to determine if your gut is not in tip-top shape, you can download my free gut health guide in the description. It'll help you recognize some of the most common signs that your digestive system may be influencing inflammation, nutrient absorption, hormones, and metabolism. And if you enjoy this type of root cause investigation, make sure you subscribe because every week I uncover another missing piece behind thyroid disease, hormones, gut health, metabolism, and the symptoms that so many women are told are just part of getting older. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.